Looks like my wife is going to the other side tomorrow. LOL, I'll play the tragic husband, so just pretend to sympathize with me. Will you?
In the middle of our long-awaited honeymoon, I suddenly woke up late at night to hear my husband on the phone talking to someone. Shocked by what I heard, I held my breath under the covers, and after he finished the call, my husband returned to bed and soon started snoring. Hearing my husband's plan in such an unexpected way left me trembling uncontrollably. And so, unable to sleep a wink, I faced the morning. My name is Jessica. I'm a 29-year-old housewife. Married to Michael, he is not only my husband but also my senior from my previous workplace, and we bonded over a shared passion for the tranquility and challenge of hiking trails and quickly fell in love. Our 5-year relationship, filled with shared dreams and moments of growth, culminated in marriage just 3 months ago. Wanted her to stay home, but since she was enjoying her newlywed life But when he said this almost frankly, the peaceful surface of our happy life began to show ripples of dissatisfaction.
There's a new temp working there named Emily. She's very good at her job.
Oh, really? At first, the conversation was very casual.
Emily complimented my tie today. She stayed late to help me with my work. Emily brought me homemade cookies today.
Given our common history in the same workplace, it was not unusual for Michael to bring her work life into conversations at our home. She was just talking and everything was fine, but one night something sinister happened that shook the very foundation of our relationship.
Hello. Michael is a little drunk tonight and he can't walk straight.
That day, her husband had told her that he would be going out drinking with her coworkers and would be returning late. While she was anxiously waiting for her husband to come home, she was supported by Emily. Michael was barely conscious, and as Emily looked at him with admiration, regret and jealousy welled up inside me. Despite this, I remained ostensibly calm while removing her husband from my care. I'm really sorry for causing him trouble.
It's all right. I always appreciate his kindness, and Michael is so adorable and clingy and cute like this.
Emily's words, which gave off an air of superiority, made my disgust even stronger. I immediately took Emily outside to vent my mixed anger and concerns about her, Michael. She couldn't help but notice, you seem pretty close to that Emily, don't you?
What happened all of a sudden? It's not what you think.
But...
Are you really jealous of Emily's youth? That's pretty petty, don't you think?
His indifference, combined with his dismissive sighs as he headed to the bathroom, irritated me. The harmony that once defined our relationship now felt strained and overshadowed by looming doubts. He stopped mentioning Emily at all, but the seeds of suspicion had already been planted. As we stood on the brink of celebrating our marriage before our honeymoon, I struggled with these unresolved feelings and sought answers directly from Michael, hoping to erase the shadow that had formed between us. So, I want to talk to you about Emily. I started, catching her husband off guard for a second, but then he started laughing.
Are you still worried about that?
Since then, I feel like your attitude has become a little colder.
That's not true. Why don't we make up now? Because we're going on our honeymoon soon.
He offered warmly, opening his arms in a welcoming gesture. I jumped into his embrace without thinking, completely unaware of the serious work that lay ahead of me. Wow, what a beautiful sight!
Calm down. You're getting a little too excited.
Since we made up, we haven't had a single fight and are now enjoying our honeymoon without any problems. It was my first time traveling abroad, and just looking at the scenery from the hotel window was enough for me. Where are you going today?
Look at this.
What is that?
Actually, I made plans for a trip.
I was amazed, amused, and burst out laughing when I saw the detailed itinerary for the week-long adventure. You seem more excited than I am.
Oh, I just wanted to make the best memories.
He said it a little shyly, but he was full of love. Let's make this the trip of a lifetime. Wait a minute, are you going to climb a mountain tomorrow?
Yes, you said you wanted to go, right?
Indeed, mountain climbing was a very important hobby for both of us. I'm so happy, I can't wait. He remembered my casual comments, which made me feel incredibly loved and valued. I strongly believed this would be our best trip ever. But that optimism didn't last long.
My wife is leaving for the afterlife tomorrow, lol.
On the first day of a carefully planned and fun trip, I was exhausted and fell into a deep sleep when an eerie conversation echoed in my ears. Huh? Life after death? At first I thought I had misheard, but when my husband began to tell the details of his terrible plan, a feeling of dread washed over me. I desperately hoped this was just a nightmare and held onto my arm tightly under the blankets until the painful throbbing signaled the harsh reality. My body shook uncontrollably as I realized that this was no dream. I hugged myself tightly so I wouldn't notice that I was awake. Luckily, her husband was engrossed in a cheerful conversation on the phone and didn't notice my presence.
Once Jessica is finished, I will meet you. I can't wait to see you. I also made travel plans for you.
Michael? I was cheating on her after all. The man I trusted had betrayed me, spread a web of lies, and was now plotting to erase me from his life. Tears streamed down my face as this excruciating truth became clear to me.
It's okay. I will say that I've been looking for Jessica for a while since I got separated from her. That way, we can enjoy sightseeing together.
Hearing his voice so excited with the anticipation of seeing Michael made me sick to my stomach. The conversation continued for a while, and I finally fell asleep about an hour later. Sleep eluded me, and I dawned in despair.
Good morning! Today is the hiking day I've been looking forward to.
He didn't notice how pale I looked and greeted me cheerfully. Sorry, I'm not feeling well today, so I can't come.
What? That's a problem.
Why is it a problem?
Because you're looking forward to it, aren't you? Besides, I really want to go hiking.
His attempts at persuasion felt like veiled frustration that his plans were being thwarted. Why don't we postpone the hike until tomorrow and go sightseeing by yourself today?
Really? Is that okay?
Yes, it's okay. He smiled and hurriedly prepared to leaving early in the morning. I carefully followed him out of the hotel, trying to remain unnoticed. After a sleepless night, I acted on my suspicions and devised a plan to catch him in his infidelity so that he could unintentionally reveal his true intentions.
Emily!
Michael, I've been longing to see you.
Predictably, my husband had reunited with Emily. Their desire to meet was palpable in last night's phone conversation. Understanding that giving them a moment alone would lead to their meeting, I had prepared. With my video camera in hand, intended to document our happy moments, I caught them in an unguarded embrace and kiss, oblivious to the world around them. Shockingly, bypassing any tourist attractions, they headed straight for the hotel. Quite the morning activity, I remarked under my breath, capturing their disappearance into the hotel. Having collected sufficient evidence of the affair, I returned to my own hotel room to pack up. In doing so, I strategically placed my husband's passport and other critical documents, brought along for emergencies, into my carry-on bag. Without these documents, reissuing his passport would not be straightforward. Wishing him a modicum of the inconvenience he deserved, I headed to the airport alone. About 7 hours later, I landed back in the US, relieved. Having boarded the plane early in the morning allowed me to return home within the day, a comforting thought. Turning on my phone after a long silence, it was inundated with calls from my husband, likely upon discovering my absence. Glancing over an overwhelming number of emails, another call from him came through. Hello?
It's about time you answered. Where are you?
Back in the States.
What?
Apologies. I felt unwell and decided to return early.
Who just leaves like that?
I'm sorry. Enjoy the rest of your trip, Michael. Cutting off the call forcibly, I blocked his number. His anger was presumably due to his plans being foiled by my absence. Nevertheless, he and Emily were likely to continue enjoying their trip without me. With anger burning within and exhaustion weighing down, I set off towards a specific destination. A month later, I was informed by my in-laws of my husband's impending return. I hurried to his parents' house, where, upon my arrival, a drained husband made his way back. Upon seeing me, he confronted me with a look of intense anger.
Hey! I've been in a lot of trouble because of you.
Did I do something wrong?
I'm talking about a passport.
On the last day of the trip, her husband realized that his passport was missing. He tried to have it reissued, but without the birth certificate, that was impossible. He tried to reach out to me to get it back, but unfortunately he couldn't reach me. As a result, he had to ask his parents to mail him his birth certificate. A full 3 weeks passed before it arrived, and instead of waiting for a new passport, he opted for a temporary travel document and finally returned home.
And our house too. It's all disappeared.
Indeed, while he was away, I decided to move out of the apartment he was renting and move back to his parents' house instead. I sent all his property to his family's home.
You decided to go back alone and wreak havoc on everything? How dare you put me through this?
My husband assumed the role of the victim, and I presented him with a carefully prepared video.
Emily, my love for you is infinite.
Oh, I love you too.
What the hell is this?
This was a secret record of her husband's affair, and was part of the evidence I had secretly captured. After returning home, I went straight to his parents' residence. So I uncovered the whole honeymoon drama and asked for their help in dealing with his just desserts. At first, they couldn't believe it, but the video was all the proof they needed. They were more angry than I was and promised unconditional support. Despite witnessing this, do you still maintain your innocence?
This was just a fun thing to do while traveling. Nothing close to an affair.
And how did Emily arrive at this scenario?
Well, that was a complete coincidence.
Facing such a weak defense, I couldn't help but let out a big sigh. Okay. Maybe you should ask Emily for her version of the story.
Ha! Emily?
Isn't she supposed to be arriving soon? As soon as I finished speaking, as if on perfect cue, the doorbell rang and her husband was shocked and shaken. When her mother greeted the visitor and ushered her into the living room, her husband let out a cry of disbelief.
Emily!
Michael!
Then Emily was standing in front of us, accompanied by her parents. Emily dashed towards my husband, enveloping him in a tight embrace, her eyes shimmering with tears, mirroring the anguish of a tragic heroine caught in the throes of despair. Her husband, caught off guard by her sudden appearance, wore a mask of confusion, his features twisted in bewilderment, clearly struggling to piece together the reasons behind her dramatic entrance. Unbeknownst to him, I had taken it upon myself to not only inform our mutual in-laws about the tumultuous events that unfolded during our supposed getaway, but had also reached out to Emily's parents. Leveraging my connections, I sought the aid of a former superior to acquire Jessica's family contact details, with a single request that upon her return, she be escorted directly to our family home. Emily, it's clear as day that you and Michael share a profound bond, isn't it?
Absolutely. Our love is undeniable, but you seem hell-bent on causing discord, aren't you?
Emily retorted, her gaze sharp and accusing, as she locked eyes with me, her frustration palpable. Given her statement, do you still intend to feign ignorance? I challenged, pushing for a confession, which prompted my husband to finally voice his feelings, breaking the silence with a declaration.
Indeed. My heart belongs to Emily.
He exclaimed, a statement so bold, it bordered on defiance, especially given his recent indiscretions. To think you'd have the audacity to say that, after everything.
The fault lies with you, if we're being honest.
Excuse me?
Driven by jealousy towards young and attractive Emily, your incessant nagging became unbearable.
So, you're saying this is all my fault?
Isn't it obvious? Moreover, taking someone's passport and deciding to return home without consent crosses a line, a breach of basic human decency.
He continued, his voice rising in defense of his skewed perspective. As my husband vehemently insisted on pinning the blame squarely on my shoulders, my tolerance reached its breaking point. Ridiculous! If there's anyone here who's forgotten how to behave like a decent human being, it's you. I retorted, my frustration boiling over, as I brandished the divorce papers in a definitive gesture. I demand a divorce this instant. And rest assured, I will be seeking a generous alimony.
Fine, divorce it is, but don't expect a dime from me in alimony.
What did you just say?
It's plain and simple. Given that you're the root cause of our marital dissolution, it's only fitting that you bear the financial burden.
He argued, a stance that left me momentarily speechless.
Indeed, I won't be paying either.
The room fell silent, our in-laws and Jessica's parents alike rendered speechless by the unfolding spectacle, a tableau of disbelief and shock.
There you have it. Unable to muster a valid rebuttal, can't you?
On the contrary, it's merely that engaging further in this discussion has become an exercise in futility. Oh, and just so you're aware, the company has been apprised of your extramarital affair. I revealed, a statement that visibly drained the color from his face. In seeking Emily's parents' contact information, I had inadvertently disclosed the entire saga to my former boss, a move born out of necessity rather than malice. While I doubt your indiscretions will cost you your job, aspiring for any future promotions would be futile at this juncture. I concluded, my words sealing his fate as he bowed his head in a gesture of defeat and acknowledgement.
Look, I'm sorry. Just say the affair was all a big misunderstanding, okay? I'm begging you, my career is on the line here, we won't get a divorce. Let's try to make this work.
He desperately tried to convince me, but Jessica, already on edge, was quick to challenge his plea.
What the heck are you talking about? Are you kidding me?
My career, my status at work, it's more important than our relationship.
You can't be serious.
Emily couldn't contain her outrage, her voice echoing with disbelief. I, too, was fed up with this endless cycle of arguments and deceit. With a heavy heart and a sense of finality, I made my stance clear. We're getting a divorce, and I won't bother making excuses for you to your company. His face drained of color, a mixture of shock and regret briefly crossing his features.
Please, let's not rush into anything.
Can you sign the divorce papers soon? If you refuse, I'm calling the police this instant.
Police? What?
You really thought I wouldn't find out? I heard all about your plan to push me off a mountain, to make sure I wouldn't be around to tell the tale. I revealed, watching as the realization dawned on him. The color drained from his face even further, if that was possible, as he grappled with the fact that I knew about their sinister plot. It's atrocious, isn't it? Planning to eliminate me during a hike. You do know that conspiring to commit such an act is a crime in itself, right? I believe it's punishable by up to 2 years in prison?
No, you've got it all wrong. It was Emily who said you were in the way, that we should get rid of you.
He tried to shift the blame, his voice tinged with desperation.
Hold on a minute. You're pinning this on me? You were the one who kept saying how much better off we'd be without her.
Jessica fired back, her anger flaring. I've had enough. I couldn't take it anymore. Their justifications and excuses were too much to bear. So, what's it going to be? Are we going through with the divorce, or do I need to involve the police?
I'm sorry. We'll get a divorce. I'll pay whatever alimony is necessary.
He finally caved, his tone laced with panic.
I apologize too, just please, let's keep the police out of this.
In the end, they both were groveling, their apologies echoing in the empty room, while our families looked on, heads bowed in shame. I guess you chose the wrong mountain to climb. I mused, reflecting on my tumultuous relationship with Emily. It was a mistake, one that I'd carry with me as a harsh lesson learned. As I walked away from my former in-laws' home, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. The divorce papers were soon filed, marking the end of a chapter filled with betrayal and heartache. I sought $35,000 in alimony from my ex-husband and $15,000 from Emily, ensuring they paid for their deceit. My ex-husband, now burdened with the financial aftermath, was relegated to a remote branch by his company, a move rumored to be a direct result of our scandalous divorce. As for Jessica, her affair and subsequent fallout with the company led to her contract not being renewed, leaving her to face the consequences of her actions alone. In this quiet, rural town, my ex-husband spends his days idly, a stark contrast to the bustling life he once led. Though it might seem peaceful, I know the torment of inactivity all too well. Emily, too, has faced her share of repercussions, now under the watchful eye of her family, her freedom severely restricted. As for me, I'm navigating the challenges of job hunting, interspersed with the solace I find in hiking, my escape from the turmoil. Each step I take on those trails reminds me to choose my paths more wisely in the future, ensuring I don't repeat the same mistakes. This time, I'm determined to pick the right mountain to climb.